Let's start with that content approach. So give us an idea here. You had that one-off strategy. That's where you started. You went to this content approach. And let me ask, first of all, let me ask the audience, how many of you here focus on specific verticals? Okay, so a fair amount. And so that's something that you did as a key element of your content. You went from just the general one-off to focusing on specific verticals. And that's, I know we think of lead qualification, we only think of lead scoring, we'll get to that. But I think that's a great example of how you better qualified your leads. Why did you do that?
So we did that because our sales team needed to understand what solution they were interested in before they picked up the phone, instead of, because it's all about, as we know as marketers, it's all about talking to people about something that's relevant to them at the right time. And the sales rep, before they picked up the phone, they needed to understand what that person was specifically interested in. And what we found throughout this program was the title of the person did not indicate solution of interest, which I think as marketers, we think in our head, we think we know these are the titles we're going to target, these are the folks that we need to talk to because they're going to be interested in this solution. And what we found after a year of collecting data was really the title didn't tell us too much about what these folks were interested in. It was really the content that was telling us what they were interested in. So if they were consuming content on this particular solution, that would tell us what their interest was, so the sales rep could pick up the phone and have an intelligent conversation with those folks.
Excellent. It just continues our theme of really learning about your customers, not assuming what you know about your customers. Another, I just think a brilliant thing you did with your content is the way you changed your titles, the way you changed your content itself to better match, to better teach people, to let them learn about how to use webinars instead of to promote your product. And I just love this one title here, From Blah to Aha, Engaging Learners in the Virtual Classroom. So you want to talk about why you did that and how it worked and how you came up with the new titles?
We changed the titles when we looked at it, that whole one-off strategy that I was telling you about, it was hitting everyone with really generic messaging. And what we needed to do was hit them with solution messaging that was relevant to them. So you can see introduction to our product. That's really generic. That doesn't really help somebody. It doesn't speak to their pain point. It doesn't speak to the solution. So instead, we split it up by solution and started talking about the specific solution and how we could help them and how we could add value to them first. And that was what we found was really important, is when we're going out to people we don't know with a cold touch, was to add value first and start that conversation by adding value instead of going out with a hard sales pitch that really seemed to turn people off. And so we were able to bring in a lot more people and do some contact acquisition by adding value first with some of these solution topics.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's something we can all learn from. Add value first. I'd encourage everyone here to take a look at these titles, go back and look at your own titles if you're doing webinars or titles of your emails, blog posts, and think about, are you putting your product first or are you putting your customers' needs first, like Shelby did? We'll just take a brief look then at the funnel of how you actually engage people with the webinars. So you want to talk about your old emails and then the new strategy you went to?
Part of the project was definitely looking at the email collateral that we had, as well as the landing pages. And as you can see here, the email had this really pretty graphic on it, but you hit the landing page and it's really boring, it's gray, it didn't match at all the email. So what we found was a lot of attrition from people opening the email to clicking on it, and then they would abandon the registration process because they didn't know they were in the right spot. So the next step then was to make sure that everything matched. All the way from the email to the landing page to the follow-up email, the campaign graphic that we chose, the messaging was all consistent so people understood that they were still part of the same webinar or same program.
And we see those impressive results and 120% click rate. It's very impressive.